Hi, and welcome to December's Pride meeting. I'm Courtney Gage, your Buffalo Pride Vice President. Thank you all to everyone who came out in support of basket auction in November, and also those of you who donated. It was a very successful event, and we look forward to holding it next year as well. We also hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we're right around the corner from Christmas break. So if you would, please keep a lookout in your emails in the next 2 to 3 weeks. We'll be sending out information on our winter uniform swap, and you'll have some PI opportunities there because that will be on January the 8th. We hope you enjoy tonight's meeting, and we'll see you in February.
Hi, my name is Barb Bergen. I'm the Executive Director of Central Florida Crime Line and Speak Out. A little history for you. Crime Line's been around in Central Florida for over 45 years, and we are the anonymous tip line. In 1995, unfortunately, there was an incident that occurred at Tavares Middle School. And the incident involved 2 male students who were having an argument, and it had been an ongoing argument over a few years. Unfortunately, on that fateful day in September, one of the students brought a gun to school and ultimately shot and killed his own student, his fellow student. So we stood up Speak Out. Speak Out is exactly what Crime Line is, and if you come from up north, then you know Crime Stoppers, and Crime Line is exactly what Crime Stoppers are. We are the anonymous tip line who take tips to help law enforcement or to help schools when there are unsafe situations and or criminal information. Speak Out falls up underneath Crime Line, and we are basically our campus program. So we call it campus safety for Speak Out. Your kids who attend school here have this tool available to them, and they're urged to use this as a tool when there are concerns about campus safety. Number one priority for us is campus safety. Bigger priority than that is that we do offer anonymity. And anonymous is intended to make the kids feel safer about telling somebody. You know, there's a lot of things that happen in our kids' lives that maybe they don't want to come home and tell you as a parent, or they choose not to tell an adult at the school, a teacher, an administrator, or maybe their SRO that's on campus, but they've heard or seen something. We are that tool for your students to be able to report what they deem are unsafe situations. And those situations range from bullying to potentially drugs. We take tips on e-cigarettes and tobacco violations that are happening on campus. We take tips on occasionally weapons or threats that are made. And we do take tips on kids who are in a bad way, maybe with their mental health, where they've talked about hurting themselves and things like that. And those we consider campus safety issues. So we encourage your students to report those things to us if they're not comfortable going another direction in reporting. I would encourage all of you as parents to have a conversation with your kids. We all should be talking to our kids on a regular basis, but this is one of those topics that we certainly hope our kids never have to report something like this, but we need to give them the tool. I encourage all of you as parents, as administrators, as teachers, whoever's watching us today, please have a conversation with the youth of today and give them the ability to know where to go to report things that they know aren't right. And it could be something small and it may end up being nothing, but we would rather have the information come in so that we can push it out to the proper authorities before something fateful happens, like did in Tavares Middle School. And circling back to that story, there were a lot of people who knew those 2 boys were having arguments, and there were a lot of people who knew that it was potentially going to escalate. There were even students on school that day who knew there was a gun on campus, and they did not report to administrators, the SRO, or any teachers. We don't want that day to ever happen again. So we want to make sure that our students are empowered to have this reporting tool, which is Speak Out. I'm going to walk you through a few things when it comes to anonymous tipping. We are available 24 hours a day, 365 days out of the year to take anonymous tips. We use a tip software. It's called P3 Campus for the kids. So if you're so inclined and you're having a conversation with your student, I would encourage you to allow them to download the app. It's free. It's P3 Campus. Let them download the app. It's so simple to use. It's just a couple of drop-down dialogues that pop up, and they can report anything to us 24 hours a day. They can also always call us at 800-423-TIPS. There are live operators available to talk to and take the information as quickly as it comes in, and as quickly as the students are calling us, it will be put into a tip format. When I say we're available 24/7, 365 days out of the year, I also will tell you that my staff is available 24 hours a day, every day of the week, 365 days a year, to act on tips that need worked immediately. And some of those tips that come into us, especially when it comes to school safety, are tips that concern mental health issues, where a student has talked to a friend or another student and explained to them that they've actually been harming themselves through cutting or things like that, where they've heard rumors that someone's bringing maybe a gun to school, or something's going to happen tomorrow at the bus stop. Those are things that we need to know now, so that we can get school administrators and the SROs engaged quickly before it goes any further. So I have staff on call 24 hours a day who will react to that information as it comes in. One of the things that's kind of interesting in our world of Crime Line Speak Out is, as we've grown over the years, many of us can remember back in the day when all we had was a dial-up phone, and we would dial up a phone number and we'd call somebody to get help. Well, today life has changed and we've changed. Our capabilities are that most of your students will actually go to a web browser and or to the app to give us a tip. We're seeing students, they're no longer primarily calling us, but they're tipping us through their mobile devices, which is fine. It's the exact same tip. It's the exact same information. We have the ability to have a two-way dialogue with your students. So if they send us information and say, William in the art class at whatever school, I'm concerned for them because they're talking about harming themselves. We don't have quite enough information to figure out who William is, so we'll come back and ask a question. Can you give us William's last name? Can you tell us the art teacher's name? Or more details so we can follow through and get help to William if help is needed in that case. So two-way dialogue is very important. We also have the ability for your students to upload screen captures, which they're way better at screen capturing than I am, to upload movies, MOV files, and or audio files. And this has led to huge success through some of these anonymous tips, where a student was able to upload either a video or a screen capture of where a student was talking about ABCDE is happening and it's not a safe situation for a campus. And so once we have that, we're able to pass it on to law enforcement or the school administrators and tell them, hey, here's some information. You really might want to look at this because we think it could be valid, or it has to be investigated at least to determine whether there's validity there or not. So the new software we're using is wonderful when it comes to how the kids deal digitally or work with electronics and stuff. We're right there with them, and they're able to upload all kinds of information, to include the screen capturing, the MOV files, and the audio files. P3 Campus has grown, and we're taking tips every single day, multiple tips that are needing action quickly. One thing I will touch on with you as parents and as administrators is we do offer rewards to the kids. If you've seen Crime Line's rewards, Crime Line rewards are in up to $1,000, sometimes up to $5,000. Those are not the case when it comes to Speak Out tips. Our rewards are much less money. You might be surprised to know that a very, very minute number of our rewards are actually collected. Small number of rewards are collected. So what we know about our children today is they're willing to do the right thing, which is report unsafe situations through P3 Campus. And it isn't about money. It's not money that's driving them. But they are comfortable using the anonymous tool of Speak Out to make a report. And I think that's important for you to remember. And it's important to have a dialogue with your kids about. Explain to them the word anonymity. What does being anonymous mean? We do not capture IP addresses. You can give us a tip and be in the same room as I'm sitting in, and I would never know it. Or you could be sitting in California giving us a tip, and we would not know where you're at. We do not capture IP addresses. We don't record phone calls if, in fact, you call. We don't trap, trace, have any record whatsoever of who the students or the tipsters are. So if as you talk to your students, I would urge you to talk about that fact, that we are truly, truly anonymous. And we're proud of that, and that's what we've been doing for 40-some years, and that's what we will continue to do. We are reactive, as I talked to you before. There's a couple of things that I want to touch on that are happening, across our country right now, which are a little alarming, and it's tied to social media. We are seeing a number of cases where there'll be a threat made, and it could be something as simple as somebody writes on a bathroom wall that says, there's going to be, this incident's going to happen tomorrow at this school. And then kids start taking a picture of that, and they start sharing it on social media instead of reporting it immediately. We look at every threat that comes in as a true threat, and until we prove it's not a threat, that's how it's handled. Another conversation I would encourage you to have with your kids, though, is please do not share those threats across social media. If they see a threat, it should be reported. It should not be reposted. It should not be talked about. It needs to immediately be reported to the authorities. And if they want to be anonymous, they do that through Speak Out. If they don't want to be anonymous, you as the adults can call local law enforcement and say, hey, my kid's got a copy of this. It's a social media threat. We don't know if it's our school or another school, but we're urging you all to please report immediately the kind of things that are floating around on the social media platforms. At the end of the day, what we are all about is keeping our communities safe. Using the anonymous tip line is a vital tool that I encourage everyone to put into the hands of your children. The number for Speak Out is 800-423-TIPS. The website is speakouthotline.org, or they can download the P3 Campus, and that can be available to them 24 hours a day. It's a very simple app to use. We don't know who they are. We don't want to know who they are. Thank you very much.
Hi, Buffalo families. My name is Tammy Rodriguez, and I'm the race director for the 5th annual Running with the Herd 5K event. We have combined fitness and fundraising with a run or walk around campus to benefit our scholarships. The race will be held on January 22nd, 2022 at 8 a.m. on the Villages High School practice field. We'll also have the 100-meter kids dash at 7:45. There will be an award ceremony right after where we will hand out awards for the top 3 finishers in each age group. And everyone who completes the course will receive a Buffalo Finishers Medal and a 2022 photo calendar. Anyone can register by going to the website listed below and clicking on the registration link. Registration will also be available the day of the race at 6:30 a.m. Tickets are $35 per person for ages 14 and up, or $15 for kids 13 and younger. If you register before January 10th, you will be guaranteed a t-shirt in the size that you select. Remember to follow us on Facebook for all updates, including local vendors, food trucks, and other activities planned for race day. We really hope to see you there. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Jeff Zimmerman from the sales department here in the Villages. I'd like to thank you all for joining us during our virtual Pride meeting in the month of December. During my travels throughout the community, one of my favorite questions to ask people is, do you ever get treated outside of the Villages the same way that you get treated inside of the Villages? A lot of time I'll get blank stares. Sometimes people will pause to try to think, when's the last time I was outside of the Villages? But more often than not, I don't get a resounding absolutely. It seems we get treated better inside the Villages than we do outside of the Villages. And quite simply, I think we would all agree, because the Village is a very special place. Many years ago, Tracy Morse said, you can always tell when you leave the Villages and you can always tell when you come back. Part of that remark was based on the beauty of our community. The Villages, the homeowners here take such great care of their property and of their homes. In the middle of the roads here, we've got the prettiest medians I think I've ever seen. But that was just part of it. She said, you always know when you leave the Villages and you always know when you come back because of the way people are treated. I immediately think about our core value of hospitality, which some people equate with the golden rule. But she said it's about the way people are treated. A lot of that comes from you and the way you treat people here in our hometown. And a lot of that comes, I believe, from our core values. We talk about our core values at work. We talk about our core values at home with our kids. And make no mistake about it, I think we all agree, ultimately the responsibility of teaching those values to our children is on us, the parents. Granted, sure, they're going to hear it in the classroom. They're going to hear the values from their coaches, from the administration, from the staff here, but that fish swims from the head, and make no mistake about it, the ultimate responsibility, in my opinion, lies with us. So it's up to us to model the behaviors that we want our kids to emulate, because I think, again, quite frankly, if we don't do it, it's not going to happen. But when we do that with our kids, we all become better people, and if that's not a great example of stewardship right there, I don't know what is. But what are some innovative or creative new ways that we can model those behaviors or talk about those values with our children? Not always easy, but that's okay, because hard work is one of our core values too. And for those of you keeping track at home, I just got all 4 core values in the beginning of this little chat that we're going to have tonight. But how do we go about this? Hospitality. There's a variety of ways that we can model or instill those values in our kids, but I'm going to go with an easy one. Yes, if we want our kids to demonstrate hospitality, we ourselves need to demonstrate hospitality. We need to demonstrate it at home with each other. We need to demonstrate it when we're out in public. We need to demonstrate it when we're on the phone. Anywhere our kids can see or hear us, it starts with us. We need to demonstrate hospitality. Those values that go back to the sandbox, right? Honesty, caring, sharing, cooperation, things like that. But how can we model or instill hospitality in our kids? We talk about stewardship. I think it's fantastic that the parents here take those words right out of that core value, and you all instill in your kids or share with your kids words like accountability and responsibility. In my travels, most people define stewardship as leaving something better than you found it. I think that's something that all of our parents have probably been teaching us for years, or at least when we were kids. Stewardship, leaving things better than you found it. A lot of people like to define stewardship as you see it, you own it. And how cool is it that we've got a bunch of parents, sharing the ownership mentality with our children. When I was in the Army, I had a colonel that said, if I have a lieutenant that walks by a problem, I have 2 problems. Talk about innovation and creativity. That is my favorite core value, but I'm going to go a different way with that. What can we do to teach or to share with our kids creative problem solving? They're going to have to solve problems their whole life. I wasn't a big math fan when I was in high school, but I always appreciated the ability to work through a problem to a successful solution. How can we teach our kids creative problem solving? That maybe, just maybe, the first answer isn't always the best answer. Maybe we could teach our kids to come up with 1 or 2 options, because the best answer lies somewhere between those options. Maybe we teach our kids the idea of brainstorming, or that, you know what, it's okay to ask for help. You want to have some fun with creativity? Do this at the dinner table tonight. Just draw some squiggly line on a piece of paper. Draw the same squiggly line for everybody at the table. Pass it out, tell them they have to complete the drawing, and see what kind of artwork your family comes up with. The winner gets their picture posted on the refrigerator, of course. And hard work. If you ever see our values on the poster where you work, hard work's at the bottom. I love to say, because all these values take hard work. Hard work supports those values. There are so many different definitions of hard work. These values are different. Sometimes our interpretations of them are different. That's going to be very personal. But what's your definition of hard work, and how do you model that or instill that? What does hard work look like in your home? I heard a story once that you might be able to use at some point, kind of related to the idea of hard work. And like I say, if you like this, you could use it, right? You're standing in a parking lot. Maybe you're at work first thing in the morning. You're the only person in the parking lot. There's not another car in sight. There's not another person in sight. It's just you. The wind's blowing through the parking lot. Some leaves blow by. You see something on the ground. You instinctively step on it because you know what it is. You reach down to grab it. It's money, but it's not just money. It's a $100 bill. There's no one in sight. There's no way you could ever find the rightful owner. This $100 bill is yours. 2 questions. The first question is, are you happy? Some people think it's a trick question, but no, you just found $100. Are you happy? Absolutely you are. Second question, are you proud? The answer is usually no. And why? But our core values, you know when you see them, and I'm smiling because you know when you don't see them. I'm thinking about the holiday season come out. You might be out and about, but when you're out with the kids, keep an eye on that server or that host or hostess in that restaurant. Keep an eye on the guy or gal behind that point of sale system or that cash register at the outlet mall. Maybe keep an ear out for that person on the other end of the phone. And if you see any of our values in action, talk about them. Share those with your kids or point them out. And I keep smiling because you know when you see them and you know when you don't. If you put a positive spin on it, it can be a lot of fun sometimes when you don't. And you'll know when you don't see hard work, but you see laziness. You'll know when you don't see hospitality, but you see rudeness. The good situations, the bad situations. I challenge you maybe in the next couple of weeks during the season when you're out and about with the kids, use them both as learning opportunities. Talk about the good examples of our values you saw, but point out the bad ones and ask the kids, what would you have done differently? How would you have handled that situation if you were on the other end of the phone, if you were behind that cash register, or if you were the server in that restaurant in those bad situations? You know our values when you see them, and you know when you don't. You always know when you leave the villages, and you always know when you come back. Thankfully, in large part, that's because of you. We appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Ted Mariah, and I'm the Director of Grants and Federal Programs for the Villages Charter School. I've been at the charter school for over 11 years, starting as a high school math teacher, then a vice principal at the middle school before moving to my current position in the central office. Now, this position was created in large part to oversee and manage several $1 million in COVID-related grant money that the charter school has received since the start of the pandemic. Today, I will provide you with a brief overview of the various grants and how the charter school is leveraging these unprecedented financial resources to help our students succeed. Before we get into the specifics, we need to define a few basic terms. Educators and the government love to use acronyms, which can be a bit confusing. The federal government has authorized the allocation of over $4 trillion in overall COVID relief aid. Nearly $200 billion have been earmarked specifically for K-12 schools, as you will see shortly. Since the start of the pandemic, Congress has passed and the President has signed into law 3 similar yet separate legislative authorizations. On March 27, 2020, a mere 2 weeks after the emergency pandemic declaration, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, CARES for short, was enacted. Near the end of 2020, a second authorization was signed into the law. That's called the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Act, CRRSA for short. Then in the spring of 2021, a new Congress and new president passed the American Rescue Plan, better known as ARP. Think of these authorizations as banks. It's where the money originates. Next, the billions in COVID education dollars get distributed to states and eventually to school districts, primarily through grant funds. These are essentially the vehicles to deliver the money. The primary fund is called the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, known as ESSER. Another fund that's been used to a lesser degree is the Governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund, or GEER for short. Now, just to summarize, there are 3 funding authorizations: CARES, CRRSA, and ARP, as well as 2 grant funds, ESSER and GEER. Here's a big picture view of COVID-related education grant funding. 3 rounds of money. Round 1 is finished. We're currently in the middle of round 2, with round 3 having just begun. Notice how each successive round of funding grew from $13.5 billion under the CARES Act to a whopping $123 billion under ARP. In total, a staggering $190.5 billion allocated specifically to K-12 education. The next slide illustrates how the federal funds flow. The legislative authorizations funnel money to ESSER, which in turn distributes to the states, and eventually that money trickles down to school districts, including the charter school. Here's another money flow chart. The Villages Charter School has received nearly all of its COVID relief funds through the Florida Education Department and Sumter County School District. This is known as a pass-through. Now, a small portion was passed through FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and the Sumter County Board of Commissioners to the charter school. So, how much money has the Villages Charter School received or will receive? This table shows the breakdown of funds. As you'll notice, the lion's share was distributed via ESSER. The charter school has already received and spent the money from GEER, ESSER 1, and FEMA. $1.25 million. We're currently receiving money from ESSER 2, which totals $2.5 million. And just last week, the Villages Charter School has formally applied for more than $5.7 million under ARP ESSER, or ESSER 3. In total, the charter school has been awarded nearly $9.5 million in COVID-related funds. Another way to view the various grants is with this timeline. Now, a few things to point out. FEMA, GEER, and ESSER 1 have already sunset. The budget windows are finished, and that money has been spent or encumbered. Currently, VCS is drawing from ESSER 2 funds, and hopefully soon we'll be able to tap into our ARP ESSER 3 funds, which can be accessed through September of 2024. So what have we done, and what are we planning to do with these millions of dollars in funds? That's a great question. At the start of the pandemic, the school buildings were essentially shuttered, and we went 100% online for the remainder of the 2020 school year. Then slowly, the charter school reopened with strict COVID protocols. We used GEER and FEMA funds for our academic summer camps, enhanced sanitation, as well as the purchase of additional Chromebooks, laptops, and other technology needs. The bulk of money, ESSER 1 and currently ESSER 2, they're being used to address academic needs born out of the shutdown in the spring of 2020. Many students have experienced learning loss at varying degrees. we have invested heavily in academic interventions, additional staff, along with curriculum and technology needs. We aim to continue funding and expanding the needs you see here with the additional funds that we are set to receive over the next 2 years. Here are the funding priorities for the future as it relates to COVID monies. First, expand the academic support that our students deserve and need. In order to accomplish this, VCS plans to hire more staff to deliver this academic support. Some new staff have already been brought on board, with more hiring to take place in the coming months. We also plan to invest in more technology, as we're acutely aware of the need for quality hardware and software. Next, we want to maintain a safe and healthy school. Some funds will be allocated for that important priority. Finally, funds will be set aside to support mental wellness for students as well as staff. Under expansion of academic support, here are a few examples. Additional small group interventions, tutoring before and after school, as well as an online tutoring service, which will be available. Saturday school, summer school, and enhanced progress monitoring of core subjects. VCS would like to hire additional staff to help meet the academic needs of our students. This includes instructional interventionists, additional school counselors, and ESE teachers. On the technology side, we plan to purchase additional Chromebooks and laptops, as well as educational software like Google Workspace for Education and iReady, a computer-based progress monitoring tool. In an effort to maintain a safe and healthy school environment, we plan to replace bathroom faucets with touchless models, and we would like to install an advanced air filtration system called iWave in strategic high-traffic areas. We will also continue our enhanced cleaning that has been instituted since the school reopened. Along with academic support, the charter school would like to allocate money to promote and support mental wellness by hiring additional school counselors as well as a second full-time school psychologist. We plan to continue our contract relationship with LifeStream, and we plan to implement social and emotional learning curriculum. We would like to get your feedback on the future priorities that were just outlined. We're asking each family to complete a short survey. You will receive a half-hour of PI time for submitting your responses. The survey link will be available on your PI portal. Look for the link titled VCS Parent Input Survey for ARP ESSER 3. Additionally, you can access this slideshow presentation on your PI portal. Find that link titled Buffalo Pride ESSER Presentation. Well, I hope this short overview of the COVID-related grants was helpful and informative. On a personal note, I've been in education for over 25 years. It is unprecedented, the financial resources that schools are receiving at this time. I'm reminded of a quote from the movie Spider-Man, when Uncle Ben says to Peter Parker, "With great power comes great responsibility." We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do incredible things for VCS students, your sons and daughters. Thanks so much for watching.
Good evening, everyone, and happy December. At the elementary school, our kindergarten, first, and second graders are taking their second iReady diagnostic. Now, this is important because we do hope to see growth in reading and math since the beginning of the school year. But regardless of that, the data is very important in helping the teachers to see the strengths and weaknesses for each child, and they will tailor their instruction, especially during their small group time with the children, to help them in those areas of weakness and to consider and continue to enrich the other areas. We're very excited that our middle school has invited us to attend their play, the musical Frozen Junior. So our kindergarten, first, and second graders will be going over to see the play, and we are so looking forward to that. And several of our classes participated recently in a writing activity. They didn't really know, but it's going to be, some of the papers will be included in the Village's Daily Sun. So at Thanksgiving time, some of our fourth graders' papers were in there, and the topic was how to cook a turkey. Well, to read those papers from a fourth grader's point of view was quite hysterical. So the other papers coming out from kindergarten through third grade have to do with Christmas and the upcoming holidays. So check out your the Village's Daily Sun and keep an eye out for those. And our fifth graders are going to go back to their field trip of the Kennedy Space Center in December. We are so looking forward to that. This will be a day trip for them. Half of the grade levels going on December 15th and half on December 16th. And a big thank you to those parents that are going to assist with that. And there's many more things happening at the elementary school. The last day before break, which is December 17th, is our annual Polar Express Day in first grade. So those first grade teachers will be sending out more information about that to the first grade parents. So keep attuned to our website and emails from the teachers, and we'll continue working hard every day. Encourage your children to read nightly. That's so important. And happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December Buffalo Pride meeting. I'm Peggy Irwin, the principal at the middle school. And believe me, December is a packed month with all kinds of concerts, plays, the last basketball game coming up. So I'm just going to get right into it. So next Monday is our last girls basketball game. And next Friday, December 10th, the middle school musical theater group, they are performing Frozen Junior. And it will be an excellent play. It starts at 6:30 p.m. and the doors open at 6:10. Now, things are a little different this year. You need to go to thevillagesentertainment.com to purchase your tickets. And tickets are $10 for adults, $5 for children. And if you have a child younger than 5, then they get in free. Speaking of my other performances, we also have on December 14th, we have our dance concert. It's the same thing, 6:30 showtime, 6:10 doors open. And again, you must purchase your tickets from thevillagesentertainment.com. Prices are the same. And our band chorus concert will wrap up our December offerings on Thursday, December 16th. Doors open at 6:10. The performance starts at 6:30, and you must purchase your tickets at thevillagesentertainment.com. That being said, this is also the end of the first semester, so we need all of you to work really hard, encourage your students to get all of their assignments in, because we want these first semester grades to be strong, because your yearly final grade is based on your first semester grade and your second semester grade. Those are averaged together for your yearly grade. So we need those semester grades to be strong. Any student that's in a semester class, like computers, health, those are going to have an EOY, an end of year or an end of course exam, and those will be held next week. Okay, so we are looking forward to having a great time with all of our performances coming up, and we are also looking forward to having all of our students do extremely well for the first semester. Have happy holidays, and thank you.
Good evening. The VHS Annual Veterans Day celebration was a big hit, with about 45 veterans attending. Breakfast was served, and they were serenaded with a medley of patriotic songs by the VHS Choral Ensemble. All veterans in attendance received a rousing round of applause by the entire VHS student body upon exiting through the courtyard. The Culinary Arts program just completed the American Culinary Federation accreditation with flying colors. The evaluators said that it was their best review that they'd ever given, and they had a real struggle finding anything that needed improvement. They also commented it was as close to perfect as it gets. They were also pretty impressed by our VHS food truck. VHS held a SAT school day on November 13th, where we tested around 700 students. This test was given free of charge and provides students the opportunity to gauge where they are at academically, especially if they're headed to college. It also offers the opportunity for students to meet graduation requirements in both ELA and in math. The VHS Construction Academy, in partnership with Habitat for Humanity, is way ahead of schedule on their fourth home build. They have the house under roof and are beginning the rough-in process on the inside. The crew has become so efficient that they will be building 2 houses next year and will also be helping build the agriculture classroom at the new school. This is such a great opportunity for our future builders of the villages. The VHS administration, faculty, and staff are working to complete data and to complete all state reports for Cognia accreditation review in February. We are also using our core value of stewardship and using the funds from the American Recovery ESSER grant from the federal government to create several new support positions for second semester in hopes of narrowing the achievement gap for our students. Girls golf, boys and girls cross country competed in state tournament. Football team finished the regular season undefeated 10-0 and is district champs. They made it all the way to the final 8 this season, finishing 11-1. Boys and girls soccer, basketball, girls weightlifting, wrestling, they're all in full swing. And it's been a great fall season for our sports teams, and we're looking forward to continued success for all of our winter sports. Just for some current information, tickets are still available for the Choral Gala, formerly known as the Winter Follies, that will be held on Friday, December the 10th at 5:30 at New Covenant Methodist Church. This year's performance is titled Lessons and Carols, so make sure you get that last-minute ticket and enjoy a great meal and an outstanding performance by the VH chorus and drama teams. In closing, I would like to thank all the teachers, staff, students, parents, and community leaders for their continued hard work and dedication that makes VHS a great place to be. Have a good evening.